Welcome back, folks, to the random video blog where every single Thursday I, Graham G.S. Matthews, run down my rambling thoughts in the wrestling world, share a few stories, etc., etc. For the past couple weeks here in the video blog, I've been kind of running down to some random news stories, whatever's going on in the world of wrestling, pretty much what this blog has been designed for. And like I've said before, usually I have a set topic or something I want to talk about, something in regards to the upcoming pay-per-view, but I feel like we've already kind of done that to death over the past year. Like last year, I did my top 5 Hell in a Cell matches, TLC matches, Survivor Series matches, theme songs, and stuff like that. So I feel like I've already kind of done that. We've been doing the video blog for like 2 years now, so in the future, going forward, for the immediate future anyway, I'll probably just be covering news stories that I know we're probably not going to cover on Wrestle Rant Radio, which I now do on Fridays, hence why the video blogs are up now on Thursdays. That goes up on Fridays. You get the deal. So anyway, I'm thinking to myself yesterday, what can I talk about in the video blog this week? What's going on? What are people talking about? And it came out yesterday. Mick Foley said on his Facebook, this was during the point when he was still on a Twitter hiatus. He came back earlier than expected yesterday. I'm not really sure what happened with Mick Foley. I think it was Tuesday, actually. I don't really remember. I think it might have been Tuesday. But anyway, Mick Foley said in a Facebook post that he flat out said that Sasha Banks and Charlotte, and he was referring to the pay-per-view poster that has Sasha and Charlotte on it. And I can't remember the last time that was the case, if ever. I know, like, divas have been on pay-per-view posters before, but I'm not really talking about that. I know Tori Wilson with her boobs hanging out was the poster girl from, like, Great American Bash 04, 03, whatever. That's different. They weren't promoting a match. They were promoting the fact they had all these hot women that would be on the show. This is a bit different because Sasha and Charlotte will be stepping inside the Hell in a Cell for the very first time come next Sunday, which I will be in attendance for. So, first and foremost, I can't wait for that. As I noted on Twitter, I saw Banks versus Charlotte on SmackDown back in March in Boston. I saw that match again at SummerSlam in Brooklyn when Charlotte beat her for the belt at SummerSlam. And then I'm going to be seeing it again in person for the third straight time. I don't think I've ever seen a match 3 times in person for any promotion ever. I'll be seeing it again, let alone in one calendar year. Again next Sunday at Hell in a Cell, inside Hell in a Cell. And I think those are the only... No, that's a lie. I was going to say the only 3 main roster matches they've had this year, but they had the 2 matches on Raw, too. So that was a lie. But I'm excited for it. I know there's been a lot of criticism, a lot of back and forth. Should they be inside the cell? All this and that. Should it be the main event? So I figured I would take the time to kind of talk about that. So, not that people are wrong to think that it shouldn't be the main event, or that they're wrong to think it shouldn't be inside the cell. I understand that. If we did not have a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, should this match be inside the cell? Honestly speaking, no. I think you'd be, wasting a massive opportunity, a perfect golden opportunity to put them inside the cell, at this pay-per-view. We have the pay-per-view, you might as well put them inside the fucking cell. I feel like I'm more engaged in this feud, in this storyline between Sasha and Charlotte than I am Owens and Rollins and Reigns and Rusev, both of which have been good. But I think Sasha and Charlotte have a lot more history, have a lot more bad blood. They recapped it a couple weeks ago for the Raw main event, right before their big title match in Los Angeles. They had the whole video package recapping their history in NXT, at WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Night of Champions, blah, 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 Clash of Champions, sorry. So they have a lot more history than Owens and Rollins and Rusev and Reigns do combined. So to me, that makes it the main event. Why wouldn't it be the main event? It's Hell in a Cell. It should be the main event. I don't agree that we have 3 Hell in a Cell matches on the same show. Again, I think it's cool because I'll be there. Overall, bigger picture speaking here, it should we should not have 3 Hell in a Cell matches on the same show. That goes without saying. I know they had it back in 2009, and it was a good show, but it was an alright show. But it really devalues and diminishes the meaning of these Hell in a Cell matches. And I've had people say to me, does it devalue the match? Absolutely. The match has been devalued. The match has been watered down for years and has nothing, or maybe very little to do, I should say that, little to do with the PG product. I know we used to have blood. You don't have to have blood to make it a great match. It obviously adds to it. We had blood in, I think, maybe not Rollins and Ambrose. I know we had blood in Taker and Lesnar last year, which was a really good match, in my opinion, very underrated. So I think it only makes sense to put them in the main event, because I think this match is probably, not even probably, the most anticipated match in the entire card as of right now. Unless they add Brock Lesnar and Goldberg at the very last second and do it at Hell in a Cell instead of Survivor Series, which they're obviously not doing, then why would you do anything else but that women's match in the main event? And I've seen a lot of criticism that they're doing it just to do it, but again, it makes sense for Sasha and Charlotte. The feud justifies the main event slot. They are not going to get this opportunity likely in a very long time, other than if they do Banks and Bayley. the first ever women's match, the main event at a special, or not a pay-per-view, but NXT TakeOver Respect last October in an Iron Woman match. Again, another first ever for the women in WWE. But they're not going to get an opportunity like this ever again, unless they do Banks and Bayley, which they'll probably do at WrestleMania, and they should do it at WrestleMania, but I can guarantee you it's not going to be the main event. Could it be? I think it could. I don't think it's going to happen on a WrestleMania card loaded with Brock Lesnar, maybe Goldberg if they bring him back for another match, John Cena, The Rock, and Triple H, and all these other big stars, The Undertaker, if he's going to be back, and I assume he will be. That's another topic for another day. They're not going to do that match in the main event of WrestleMania. Maybe someday, but I think we all really knew it was only inevitable back when they brought up Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch about a year ago for the whole Divas Revolution, which really wasn't. The real women's evolution, or women's revolution, whatever the hell you want to call it, was really this year, in my opinion. When Charlotte took the title, really kind of took a dominant reign on the whole division. Becky rose up on SmackDown. She's been a great champion. We've had Charlotte really come into her own as a heel. Sasha Banks has been great. Bayley's on the main roster. So this year has really been the defining year for the women, in my opinion, in WWE. Really more of a changing of the guard for the women on both brands. So you're not going to get this opportunity again. It has to be the main event. It has to be the main event. But I will say this, though. There has been a lot of talk amongst people on the dirt sheets, and like the comment section, on Twitter from what I've seen, that people aren't that happy with the fact that all they talked about in their interviews on Monday, which I thought were really good, by the way, but all that Sasha, Charlotte, and Lita talked about in their interviews on Monday night was the fact that they were making history. As if we didn't already know that a million times from the million times they said it a couple weeks ago when they main evented Raw for the first time in over a decade. I think it's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge advocate of women's wrestling. It's a big plus, a major move forward for the division, the company, the women, pretty much everybody. That said, they really should be putting more emphasis on the fact that this is a heated rivalry. I think if they did this a couple months ago and put Banks and Charlotte in the main event of SummerSlam, which I was kind of almost in favor of, but you had a fucking loaded card. It was only second on the card, on a card that was loaded with other dream matches between Cena and AJ. You had Rollins and Balor. You had Lesnar, Orton. You had so many other matches. The women were not going to go on last. That was pretty much, a definite. So that said, does it need the Hell in a Cell stipulation? Probably not. I also don't want to see either woman get hurt because Banks' reputation for just kind of going balls to the wall crazy in all of her matches. I don't want to see either woman get hurt more than they already are, specifically Banks. But then again, I told RJ this over text a couple days ago, that if it was December and the feud is wrapping up around that time, it would be a ladder match, or it would be a TLC match. It really doesn't matter. They should have a stipulation match. I said that they should do that stipulation match at SummerSlam, but it kind of makes sense now they're doing it now as opposed to then because the feud kept on going. They weren't blowing it off then. But if it was December, it would be a TLC match. It really doesn't have to be a Hell in a Cell match. I'd rather just have it be a last woman standing match. I think you can make it just as meaningful. You could still make it the main event. A hardcore match, I guess, would be cool, but I would like something bigger than that. It does not have to be Hell in a Cell. It's still big. They're stepping inside Hell in a Cell. I remember a couple of years ago, there was the discussion going around that, I don't know how serious talks were about it, but they were talking about, apparently, according to dirt sheets or Meltzer from The Observer and stuff, they were talking about putting Brie and Nikki inside Hell in a Cell after the whole feud between those two. That atrocious feud in the fall of 2014. Thank God that didn't come to fruition. And now Banks and Charlotte have the opportunity to main event the pay-per-view inside the cell. So again, I'm all in favor of them headlining the show. I think they should. They need to. No other match excites me more on that show. Going into it, I'm excited for no other match. I'm excited for a lot of the matches on the show. I think it's going to be a solid card. But going into that pay-per-view, being there in 10 more days, there is no match I'm looking forward to more than Banks and Charlotte, let alone inside the cell. That doesn't really make a difference to me. If they utilize the cell, great. They don't have to go on top of the cell. That might be a little too much. And it has nothing to do with men versus women or whatever. Banks is just a fucking nutcase. In the best way possible, but she kind of takes one too many risks. The suicide dives, all that stuff, it's going to catch up with her eventually. And she's only 24, 25, something like that. Again, I don't think it needs to be inside the cell. For the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, it should be. But if it was a Clash of Champions pay-per-view, it would not be inside the cell. The pay-per-view itself needs to go. It's really a waste. But I'm looking forward to the match. I think it should be the main event. I think on a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell, it should be the Hell in a Cell. It should be the main attraction of the Hell in a Cell. I'm glad they're on the pay-per-view poster. They're making history. I'll be there for history. Even more excited about that. So again, it's really a big step forward. It's the feud that deserves a hardcore stipulation. Notice how we said a hardcore stipulation. They do not deserve specifically the Hell in a Cell. I don't think anyone was saying a couple months ago that when I was saying that they deserve a big stipulation, I don't think anyone was saying they need to be inside Hell in a Cell. Like, there's certain matches and feuds that I could say, oh, that deserves to be inside Hell in a Cell. Batista, Triple H, with Triple H being a Hell in a Cell guy. That match should culminate, that feud should culminate inside State and Structure. Brock Lesnar and Taker makes perfect sense. They have history inside the Cell. Ambrose and Rollins, a heated rivalry, as is Banks and Charlotte, but they should really, with one Raw left to go home show on Monday. That's the biggest takeaway from this video I want you guys to focus on. That I'm not praising it and loving it, blah, 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 without my criticism here, too. And I think they really should take the time on Monday to really put over the Structure as, threatening, as vicious, as aggressive, as dangerous, really. I mean, you have Mick Foley endorsing the woman to put them inside the Cell. Isn't this the same guy who had his career ended almost twice inside the Cell? In 1998 and again in 2000 against Triple H. So really, Mick Foley saying that, I like Mick Foley. I like Mick Foley a lot. But it kind of seems like the on-air character endorsing them, putting them inside the Cell, saying I'm a big advocate for women's wrestling. I don't want to say sounds smarky, but it sounds like that's the Mick Foley, the person saying that. I'm glad for him, and I'm glad he feels that way, because I feel the same way too. But as an on-air character, lest we forget, 2 fucking years ago, this guy came back on Raw, maybe even 2 years ago today, I forgot. I think it might have been 2 years ago today, actually. Then Mick Foley came back to Raw and put over the dangers of Hell in a Cell in that segment with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. Where is that Mick Foley? You know what I mean? It feels like the Mick Foley they brought back for GM, it's been good, but having him with the whole shit with Stephanie and all that garbage, I'm not one of those sheep of fans online that are going to turn on Mick Foley because he's not pushing Summer Rae. That to me seems, again, a whole nother story that's just silly to me. But they should really have him. I don't know if it's a complete 180 from what he said last week or the past 2 weeks anyway, but they really should make a concerted effort on, a conscious effort on Monday to put over the dangers of Hell in a Cell, how it ended the careers of Mick Foley and many others. Undertaker has seen his career shortened because of it. Like, stuff like that should really, that's the whole purpose of Hell in a Cell. It's not like, oh, it's this grand match, we're all excited for it. I get that from a fan aspect. But on TV, where are the years of them putting over the dangers of the Cell? Of the careers that have been ended, the blood that has been shed, the bones that have been broken inside this Cell. Tim White, his career ended inside Hell in a Cell back in 2002, 2003, whatever it was. I think it might have been 2002, between Triple H and Jericho. What happened to, let me show you right now. This is Hell in a Cell, Best of Hell in a Cell compilation DVD. It's I don't know why it's doing that. There we go. This, not this. That's 2009. But the Best of Hell in a Cell. Where is this? Where is this Hell in a Cell that we know as the most dangerous structure in WWE? I want to see them talk about that. On this DVD, it's a great fucking DVD. You should really check it out. I watch it every year before Hell in a Cell. I've done it since 2012. But before every match, they have Mick fucking Foley of all people, the current Raw GM. They have him come on the TV and say how this match ended that person's career. How that match has affected that person. How that person has not been the same since that Hell in a Cell match. Where is that Mick Foley? It's not just Mick Foley. It's the writers telling him what to say. But that's what I'm hoping we get come Monday's Raw before the pay-per-view. I'm here 6 days before the show that I will be in attendance for. So again, I look forward to being there. I look forward to that match itself between Sasha and Charlotte. I know I'm a little offhand here, a little off topic. Same thing goes for Reigns and Rusev and Rollins and Owens. It shouldn't be just, it's October. Hell in a Cell time, guys. It should be, no. These two really hate each other. This match should be inside Hell in a Cell because they are ready to tear each other apart, and they realize this company, this Raw roster is not big enough for the both of them. That's what I'm saying. So hopefully we get that. Come Sunday, I'm looking forward to Banks and Charlotte. Hopefully, if it doesn't headline the show, what a stupid fucking move. I like Rollins, I like Owens. The whole Reigns and Rusev feud has been it's been alright. But neither one of those matches deserve to main event over the women's match. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Hopefully they don't go too crazy. So I'm looking forward to the match. I'm looking forward to the pay-per-view. I'm looking forward to being there on Sunday. So I would love to know what your guys' thoughts are on the whole thing. On the Banks and Charlotte scenario, headlining Hell in a Cell. Are you excited for it? Are you against it? If you are against it, that's cool too, but I just want to make my points in this video blog if we don't get to it tomorrow on Wrestle Rant Radio. So be sure to check that out, by the way, as well. New episodes get uploaded every Friday. Random video blogs get uploaded every Thursday. Throughout the rest of the week, we got hashtag AskJSM on Monday. If you're new to the channel, just kind of recapping. Hashtag AskJSM on Mondays. We got Wrestle Rant on Tuesday. WWE Network and Chill on Wednesdays and Sundays. Wrestle Rant on Tuesdays and Saturdays. So a whole loaded schedule for you guys. And other miscellaneous interviews and live reactions and stuff like that thrown in. So be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All your support is amazingly appreciated. Have a great weekend, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. The Go to Hell tour culminates in only 10 more days with Mr. Marceau. Can't wait to be there with him for what should be a great show in Beantown on, I was going to say this Sunday, but next Sunday. So I'm looking forward to what should be a great show. And only a mere day before Halloween, my fucking costume just came in the mail today, so I'm looking forward to wearing that for you guys as I go to Hell in the Sun. But anyway, have a great one, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. The Go to Hell tour continues on next week. What we're talking about next week in the video blog, I have no idea, but I'll catch you folks down the road.